Hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. It's 7:15 here in Ireland. Today we are on time because last week I had an urgent meeting and I caused a trouble. I couldn't make it on time. So good to have you all here. And in order to apologize to yourself, Roberto be here. Keep going on the Medium's book comments or study. He'll be here for this second part. The variety of mediums.
Yeah.
So again, Roberto Watanabe. He's president of São Paulo State Spiritist Federation, and he's helping the Irish Spirit Federation with the dissemination, with the spreading, the Spiritist teaches in English. So we have the advantage that he speaks English, so we have someone with an excellent background in order to help us in our study today. So, good evening, Danny. Good to have you here. And in order to start, I will do the initial prayer. Meanwhile, I see people are joining us. Okay? So I want to ask everyone if you can, if you want, to close your eyes, have a deep breath, raise up our thoughts towards Jesus, asking Him to enlighten ourselves, asking to the superior spirits, the spirits of our home, to guide us on our mission, on our task today. May light Roberto, and may we have a wonderful talk. So be it. Amen. Okay, my friend, let me put it here your slides. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So off you go, my friend. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Esteban. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here again with you. And now is the second presentation about the mediums book. We are going to talk today about the variety of the mediums. So let's see it. First of all, we need to understand what is a medium. And then Kardec says that mediums is every individual who senses the influence of the spirits to any degree of intensity. So every individual who feels like this is a medium. So generally, we can say that we all are mediums because we all sense the influence of the spirits, even if we are aware of that or not, because sometimes we are not aware, but we are being influenced by them. We see in the Spiritist book that when Kardec asks if the spirits influence us, and the spirit answer that they influence more than we can see, right? We can be aware of. Sometimes they determine what our actions without we knowing about it. So in this general sense, we all are mediums. But in the context of the mediums book, this label, Kardec says, is applied only to those individuals who possess a well-characterized mediumistic faculty. And then this mediumistic faculty depends on our physical organization, whether we are more or less sensitive. And this more or less sensitive physical organization means that if we remember that we men and women, we are composed of the spirit, the body, and as a link between the spirit and the body, we have the perispirit. And this perispirit, we can, it is not so linked strong to our body, only when we are awake, for example. But when we are going to sleep, for example, the spirit with his perispirit, his or her perispirit, can, let's say, separate, detach from the physical body. So the more or less sensitive means that such kind of a person can easily detach its perispirit from his physical body. So this is what Kardec means by sensitive physical organization. And then, according to this, Kardec classifies the mediums in many types of mediums, variety, according to the special aptitude they have. So then he says that we have the physical effect mediums, sensitive or impressionable mediums, hearing, speaking, seeing, somnambulistic, healing, and writing or psychographical mediums. Writing, psychography is the same. And then we are going to see each one of these today. And starting by the physical effect mediums, are those mediums that are able to induce physical phenomena, such as movement of objects, noises, for example. And for example, Kardec says here in the last item here, he narrates about a phenomena that took place in 1852 in a province of Bavaria in Germany. So in some house there were loud noises that shook the house, furniture that were overturned, objects thrown by invisible hands, visions, apparitions, and so on. So these are some examples of the physical effects phenomena that happened in this specific house, right? And in this case, it's not that the house is empty of nobody there. And normally someone is living in that house, a family, for example, and one or more members of that house are mediums, and they are physical effect mediums without knowing it, because we can be mediums, we can provoke spiritist phenomena and not being aware of that. So that's why Kardec classifies these physical effect mediums in facultative and involuntary mediums. In this case that I'm mentioning is the involuntary or natural mediums. So they exert their influence without realizing it, right? On the other hand, we have the facultative mediums. And these mediums are aware of their ability and induce spirit phenomena through their own will. This is what we see happening in the Spiritist center, right? When we have the mediums who work there in the Spiritist center, and they are aware of their faculty. So those are facultative mediums. This is an example, right? The levitation of a table is without anyone touching the table. So this is a kind of a physical effect mediums. How this happens? We are going to see here the explanation of this physical effect in our next presentation, right? In next month. Next is kind of a mediums is sensitive or impressionable mediums. So are individuals capable of sensing the presence of spirits even through a vague impression or a sort of a general shudder, right? So, as for example, if you are alone in a room, for example, and suddenly you feel uncomfortable, for example, something suddenly you feel like very cold, for example, without any reason, right? Any logical reason. So it may be that you are sensing the presence of a spirit, and it's Kardec says that it's a rudimentary faculty because is indispensable to development of all the others. For example, in the Spiritist Center, in the Spiritist House, when we are going to develop the faculty of the mediums who work in that house, we start by practicing this sensitive faculty, right? The first step on the development of a medium is to practice on this the sensation of the sensation of the spirit coming closer to him or her, right? So this is the first step, and then we go to the next step. For example, in the beginning, the spirit is, I mean, the discarnated person, right? The spirit come close to the medium, then the mediums feel something, right? Still feel the approximation. Then the spirit involve the medium, we say, right? Involving the medium means the perispirit of the spirit uh, is links with our perispirit as mediums. So this is involvement. And then we have more steps further until we have the communication, right? So this is the importance of this basic faculty, which is the sensing the presence of the spirits. And the medium also can recognize if the spirit that is approaching him is good or bad by the sensation itself, right? For example, Kardec says, huh? A good spirit always produces a pleasant impression, an evil one, a painful, anxious, or an unpleasant impression. So, by this way, we can uh, recognize, right, which kind of a spirit is getting closer to us. And in some cases, we also can uh, recognize the individuality of the spirit. This case, I mean, this case is when, for example, we have we have frequent contact with the spirit, right? And then by such a specific impression that we feel, then we know that well, this is let's say John, right? The spirit of John. So this is what Kardec is saying here. But this is only the beginning, right? Of the development of the mediumistic faculty. The developed medium, we have the hearing mediums. So the hearing mediums are those who can hear the voice of the spirits. And this voice of the spirits sometimes is a voice that talks is an internal voice. It's a voice that comes from the inside our brain, if we can put it that way, right? And the other times is an external voice, right? It's something. It's like someone which is talking, who is talking to us, and is, for example, 2 meters from us, and is talking to us. Then we hear this voice coming from that distance, from that direction, right? As if by a living person, Kardec says. And then, if I'm a hearing medium and I hear the voice of the spirit, then I can talk with him, right? We can converse with him. So that's why Kardec is saying that they can converse with the spirits. And also, for example, if I'm hearing a spirit telling me something, and my friend is here with me, my incarnate, alive friend, right? He is with me, and then he asked through me. He asked a question for them to the spirit, and then the spirit answer. I hear his answer, and then I tell him, "Wow, the spirit is saying this to your question, right?" So that's why Kardec saying here that person who do not possess this faculty can also communicate with the spirit through the hearing medium, which in this case, in this example, is me, right? And the medium feels very pleased when he hear good spirits giving a recommendation, for example, a consolation, right? And or those whom they call, right? So if he calls a relative, for example, who passed away long ago, right? And then he asked for his or her help, and then he hear the voice of this consolation, for example. And the opposite is true, of course, with the evil spirit, right? So sometimes, for example, in the case of the obsession that we are going to see uh, maybe by the mid of the year or the second semester, there are cases with this kind of obsession. The hearing medium is constantly hearing someone, for example, accusing him of something, right? Something horrible, or uh, saying bad things to him. So this is we call is kind of an obsession, right? And so this is what happened with the hearing mediums. Then we have also the speaking mediums. Speaking mediums are in this case the spirit, the communicating spirit acts upon the vocal organs of the medium. So it's like the spirit utilize our vocal organ, right, to express himself. And Kardec says that in general, speaking mediums express themselves without any awareness of what they are saying. So it means that I'm a kind of I'm not aware of what I'm saying, because actually it's not me that are giving the message, right? It's the spirit. And Kardec says that nearly always they address subjects completely foreign to their customary ideas. Why Kardec saying this? Because if we, for example, if you see a medium, right, which is giving a message, then you can doubt. You say, well, who can assure that it's ensure that this is a spirit? It can be the medium himself, right, which is inventing the message, right? Then, so that's why Kardec says that in some cases, the mediums, what he is talking is something that is well beyond his knowledge, right? So his sphere of knowledge, and beyond his intelligence, his or her intelligence, right, is completely foreign, out of what he usually thinks or say, right, or say. So says. So that's why, by this way, we can recognize that in this case, it's not the medium who is talking by himself, but is another person, right? Another discarnate person in this case, which is the spirit, communicating spirit. And the same here happened with the hero medium, right? I am here, for example, involved by spirit. I am talking to my friend, for example, and actually it's not me that I'm talking, the spirit is talking. Let's say that this spirit is the grandmother, for example, of my friend, right? Then my friend can ask a question, right, to his grandmother, and his grandmother answered the question for his grandson by me, which is the medium, right? So I vocalize the answer. So that's how we can converse, right, with the spirits. We do this anytime in the spirit center, right? Because we have some of the work that we have in the spirit center is exactly to talk with the spirits, to clarify them, to give you recommendations, to say about, for example, sometimes the spirit is very angry, right? Because let's say he passed away in a very horrible situation, and then we can talk to him about the patience, to be calm. So uh, this conversation with the spirit usually we have in the spirit center, right? And this happens with the speaking mediums, through the speaking mediums. And this is a case. Well, this guy with glasses is in a meeting with the other man and the woman, and then a spirit gets close to him, involves him. You can imagine here that this perispirit of the spirit is connected to the perispirit of the medium, and then the medium gives the message, right? The message, actually, the spirit gives the message through the medium vocal organ. That's what is happening here. It is usual also in spiritist meetings, right? In the studies, in meeting of studies, for example, right? And then we have the seeing mediums, are those persons who can see the spirits, right? So there are those, Kardec says, that enjoy this faculty in a normal state. We hear here in Brazil of some famous mediums like Divaldo Pereira Franco, for example, that I presume you have heard about. Divaldo, in the beginning of his career as a medium, he worked in a company, and he attended the people who came to that company, right? And sometimes he left his table, his working table, come there to talk to someone, and their colleagues look to him, and then they commented, "Well, who he's talking about, to?" Because there was no one there, and he's talking to someone, right? In this case, he was talking with the spirit. Only he could see, because he is a seeing medium, right? And his colleagues could not see. So then he asked his colleagues, well, next time I go to the table, I lift my table to attend someone, please tell me if he is someone which is alive or not, right? Because I cannot discern by myself. So that's an example, right? So this is a faculty in a normal state. The person see normally, right? The spirits. And as we see here in the last line, there are some who can see the surrounding spirit population. So, for example, the seeing medium goes to the streets and see spirits going, coming in, together with the live person, right? So this is the seeing mediums. And there are others who can display this faculty only in the somnambulistic state. We're going to explain what is somnambulism. And another thing is that these seeing mediums, they not see the spirit with the physical eyes, right? They see with the perispirit. We learn in spiritism that in our physical body we have our perception, visual perception, only by our physical eyes. But with the perispirit, we can have a broader perception, and is not restricted to the eyes, right? So that's why Kardec says seeing mediums can see the spirit even if their eyes are closed, because it's not with their eyes that they are seeing the spirit. So that's what he explained here, right? So, because it's their soul who sees, Kardec says, right? And then this is a small example, right? Normally, small children, they normally can see the spirit. They talk to them, and sometimes, for example, in this case, this little girl is playing with her colleague, her little spirit colleague, and then the father comes, and to the father it's like her daughter is talking to no one, right? But for her, as she is a seeing medium, she's talking to somebody, right? To her colleague, which she's seeing, right? So this is a situation, a small example of a seeing medium. Normally, when the children grows up, and then this faculty goes away, right? And then we have the somnambulistic mediums. Somnambulistic mediums are somnambulists are those who act uh, through their own spirit. How can they can do that, right? We can study in the Spirited book. There is a chapter that talks about the emancipation of the soul. It's like I said in the beginning, right? We have our physical body, which is connected to our perispirit, but this perispirit can be freed for the body in some instances. For example, when we are going to sleep, as I said, or even if you are, for example, sitting at a table, and then I in some moment I fall like I was asleep. Huh? So in this situation where I'm not aware of what is happening around me, then my perispirit can emancipate from my physical body, and then as I mean the spirit with the perispirit, right? And then in this situation, the spirit, the soul is free, had a broad perception of things. And the spirit can even, of the medium, right, can even see, talk, or hear to other spirits, discarnate spirits. So this is the somnambulistic mediums, which Kardec is saying here, right? And is different from the mediums because mediums, he says here, right? Mediums serve as instruments for an outside intelligence, as the example of I gave you of a speaking medium, right? Is the spirit which is talking through me to my friend, right? The spirit of his grandmother, which is talking through me to his grandson, right? So in the case of a somnambulist, no, it's the spirit of the medium itself which is communicating, right? So you can imagine a situation where I am emancipated, and then I dialogue with my friend, and then in this situation I can talk about things that in when I am awake I cannot I don't know, but as we also learn in Spiritism, we, for example, uh, don't remember about our past life, for example, but the memory is there. In this case, when I am emancipated, I can remember my past life, and then I can, for example, bring some situation from that life, and then I can talk about that. Which in when I awake, I have no memory at all, right, of that. So this is the somnambulism, right? And then somnambulistic mediums is a situation when I am emancipated, and then in that state of emancipation, I have a contact with the other spirits, discarnate spirit, right? And then, for example, the discarnate spirit talks to me. I am emancipated here, aside of my body, and then what he says to me in an emancipated state, I command my own body. I, for example, speak what he says, right? What he said. So in this case, I am a medium in a somnambulistic state. So that's the difference between that explain what is somnambulistic medium. So let me give an example, right? Because this is something complicated. Kardec says this example here. A young boy of extremely limited education described with perfect precision the illness of a sick man he was attending. So in this case, the young boy, he and his perispirit emancipated, let's say, that is separated, detached from his physical body, and in that situation, emancipated, he has a broader perception and can see the illness of that sick man he's attending, right? And then he can describe the illness. But then, once he described the illness, the time comes to, well, what is the medical prescription that needs to be done, right, to this sick man. Then he says, right, the young boy said, well, regarding the medical prescription, I need to talk to my angel doctor. Huh? So the angel doctor is the spirit who is with him, and of course is the discarnate person who was a doctor in his previous life, and then his discarnate person uh, give or orients him about the prescription, the medicine he should prescribe to the sick man. So that is an example of somnambulist medium. It's what here we have here in this figure here, right? So imagine the young boys, this man sitting on the table, then he emancipates the spirit of the medium with his perispirit emancipated, and he's here on the left side of his body, right? And then in this situation, he can see the units of the sick man and describe. Then, but when he are going to prescribe the medicine to the sick man, he must have the help of the angel doctor, he says, which is the spirit behind the medium's body, right? So that's what happened. That is the case of a somnambulistic medium. Then we have also the healing mediums, right? We are talking about the health, sickness, health, and then in this case, healing mediums are those who have the gift to heal people by simple touch, by a look, or even a gesture, right? And for example, in the spirit center, we have the passe, right? We say the passe, which is that movement that we do movement we do on the person who is being assisted there, and then some kind of a passing are have this healing effect, right? And it's not all kind of passes have healing effects, but some one of them have this healing effect. So it's related to the magnetism, right? Kardec says here. Because the magnetic fluid plays a larger role, because as we have our our perispirit is composed of a fluid, a magnetic fluid. And if I am a health people, and then a sick people comes to me in the spirit center, I can donate part of my health magnetic fluid from my perispirit, right? So that is the passing. When I pray, I ask for the help of this of the spirit of the benefactors, and then I give him the passe. So what I'm doing here, I'm giving him part of my magnetic fluid, and this magnetic fluid is enhanced by the action of the benefactors, and then the person feels very well, right? This usually happens. Person comes very well, feeling very bad, and then after this he goes away feeling good, right? So this is an example of the feeling mediums. And the faculty is spontaneous, and sometimes the medium can possess it without even having heard of magnetism. Is a situation, right? And when you have the person who can heal by imposing the hand, but he never heard about magnetism, right? He do it naturally. So this is what Kardec says, the spontaneity of the faculty. And as he says here, I said already, most of the individuals who qualify as healing mediums resort to prayer, because with the prayer, that magnetic fluid that are transmitted to the person I am assisting is fortified. Let's say the effect is much more broader, right, than my magnetic fluid by itself, because that is the fluid of the spirit, right, the good spirit. And Jesus is the case, right? He is curing a blind man. There are many examples of cures that he did in the Gospels. But of course, he was not a healing medium, right? Because in the healing mediums means that I am transmitting my magnetic fluid, but I have the aid or the help of the good spirit. Jesus had his power by himself, right? Because he was a very elevated spirit. So, but we can do something similar to what he did in those times, if we ask for the assistance of the good spirit. We need that, and that is in this situation we are healing mediums because we are functioning here as a medium to transmit the fluid of the elevated spirit, of the good spirit. So through me, this good fluid goes to the person, to the sick person, for example, right? So this is the healing mediums. Then last, we have the writing or psychographical medium. Psychography is a faculty where the person writes, right? Writing letters, write books, and then it's not him that is writing, but the spirit who is doing that, right? So that's why Kardec says that in this case, the spirit acted upon the hands of writing mediums. The famous case here is Chico Xavier, right? The most famous medium in Brazil. I have here his picture. He is here is psychographing, right? A message. So he is not aware of what he's writing, right? He goes into a kind of a trance situation, and then the spirit command his hand and then write automatically, right? The message. So that's why Kardec says that this of all forms of communication, the manual writing is the simplest, the most convenient, and the most complete. So it was very usual here in Brazil, right? It is the case about Chico Xavier, but it is the case also of Divaldo Pereira Franco that I mentioned, right? They both of them psychographed hundreds of books, right? The spirits dictating through him their books, right? The spirits book. So in the case of Chico Xavier, we have Emmanuel, we have André Luiz, right? In the case of Divaldo, we have Joana de Angelis, we have Manuel Filomeno de Miranda, and others, right? So it is the method, Kardec says, through which spirits review better their nature, the degree of their elevation, because by the message they give, we can see if the person is morally elevated or not, right? By the content of the message. And these faculties can be developed by practice. For example, here in FESP, São Paulo State Spiritist Federation, we have a group of literary, we call literary psychography, right? So a group of mediums who write, right? Poems, small, some messages, for example, right? So small stories, and then they practice on that, and they can develop their faculty until they can, for example, writing a book, right? And then Kardec classifies such kind of mediums in many types, right? Mechanical, intuitive, semi-mechanical, inspired, and prescient. What is mechanical? Mechanical is kind of what Chico Xavier that I said, right? He wrote the message, but he wasn't aware of what he was writing, right? Because he was totally unconscious of that. And this is Kardec calls as a mechanical, right? So mechanical, therefore, is the spirit. In this case, the spirit acts directly upon the medium's hand, right? He commands the medium hand and impels the medium's hand completely independent of the medium's will, because in this case, as I said, the medium is a kind of inconscience, in a state of unconsciousness, right? And so it's completely unaware of what he or she is writing. Intuitive medium is the opposite, right? In this case, the medium is aware of what he's writing, right? Actually, the spirit transmits his thought to the medium soul, and in this case, is something similar to the somnambulistic medium, right? It's a kind of a somnambulistic medium, actually, because in this case, the medium emancipates from his physical body. Then, in this emancipated state, he receives the thought of the spirit who wants to communicate, and then commanding his own body, the medium right. In this case, the medium emancipated who command his own hands to write the the message, right? So in this situation, he is conscious of what is being written. That's what Kardec says. And then we have the middle between those two, mechanical intuitive, which is the semi-mechanical, right? In this case, the medium feel their hand being moved without their willing, but they are aware of what is being written. So it's not the medium who is commanding his hand, but he's seeing what's being written, right? He knows that is not his message, right? It's another person's message, but another person's message, but he can see what is being written. And then we have the inspired mediums, are those who receive mental communication that are foreign to their ideas, right? And this happens usually with the orator, right? Yeah, I brought here an example, right? An orator, for example, this guy, for example, he's there in a spirit center and talking, for example, about the gospel. For example, he's talking about the justice of affliction, right? And then he prepared a script of what he was going to talk, right? But when during his talking, his speech, he received the inspiration of these two spirits, which is beside him, right, or on both sides of him. And then usually he ended up saying much more than what he's prepared before, right? So this is a kind of an inspired medium that we say. Happens, for example, with the Divaldo Franco that I mentioned. Well, this is usual with him, right? So this is a kind. This is the inspired mediums. Is a kind of intuitive variety, as Kardec says, right? But the difference is that the intervention of the spirit is less detectable because the person is receiving mentally is talking. So you cannot separate, right, what is from the medium, what is from the spirit. So inspired medium is in this situation. But the medium itself, for example, when I'm talking about some specific subject, spiritist subject, I can clearly see, I can clearly recognize what I prepared and what is coming now, something new that I wasn't thinking of before. So that's a kind of inspired. And then we have the prescient mediums, right? So these are kind of variety of inspired mediums, and are those mediums who can have presentiment or a vague intuition about the future events, right? So sometimes I'm preparing myself to go to some place, and then my colleague comes and says, "Well, it's better that you don't go today. I don't know. I feel that you shouldn't go, right?" And then if I trust my colleague, well, okay, so I'm not going today. And then maybe in this case, I escaped from a big danger, for example, right? So this is the prescient mediums. So with this, we have a general overview of what is a medium. So in the first presentation last month, we identify three elements involved in the spiritist phenomena: the spirit itself, who is communicating or is acting, or is talking, its perispirit from the spirit. But we will know later that the perispirit of the medium also is involved in the phenomena. And we talked in last month about an unknown fluid, which is Kardec calls the universal fluid, right? So these are the three elements that we saw last month. Today we saw the fourth element, which is the medium. So now we will have the the picture is complete, and then we can start to talk about the manifestation itself. And there are two kinds of a manifestation: physical manifestation, like the lifting of a table into the from the ground into the air, for example, that I gave you here a picture, and also intelligent manifestation. For example, speaking. In the case of speaking medium, this is a kind of intelligent manifestation, right? And then next presentation, we are going to talk about physical manifestation. So that's what I have to give you today, and thank you for being with us. Esteban?
Hello. Wow. This is what we call great overview, isn't it? Let me put it here.
Yes,
Yeah, it's amazing. Very comprehensive. Again, this is what we are looking for, something simple and at the same time informative. Uh, I know everyone it's more than interested in get to know more about mediumship, and this series of lectures Roberto is going to give to us. It's a great source of information for you, my friends. But Roberto, I do have a question.
mm.
Which mediumship is better, the psychographic or visual medium or psychophonic medium? Which one is better?
It is, there isn't a better mediumship, Stefan. All of them are well, is good, right? So what happens that, for example, Chico Xavier and Divaldo Franco, for example, who are mediums who write books, right? In this case, psychography or writing medium, being a writing medium is very important, right? And it's very important because they can, well, through Chico Xavier, for example, we have, well, lots of knowledge which were brought to us from Andrea Luis, for example, the spirit Andrea Luis or the spirit Emmanuel, and that's very important to us. So in this case, I would say, well, psychography mediumship is very important. But today, for example, in the spiritist centers, in the spiritist house, we work mainly with the speaking mediums, right? We call psychophonic mediums, because in that case, for example, we do that in the spiritist spiritual assistance. Well, a person comes to our spirit house, spirit center, and then he is obsessed by a evil spirit, right? So he come to our house. We talk to him about him or her about the gospel to calm him down, and then we give him the passe, and then this kind of magnetic fluid with the help of the spirit, good spirits, and then after that we evoke his obsessor, right? The evil spirit, the evil. I mean, it's not evil. It's a well,
Is a brother or sisters in a temporary state of lack of knowledge, lack of
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Evil is very strong to say that, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
and then we call him through a speaking medium. So and then he manifests himself, and sometimes he said, "Well, I mean, in the real situation, right? You have a situation that the medium express himself is not he's not expressing himself, right? The spirit is expressing through him,
Mhm.
and he says, "Well, I am very angry with this guy," and the obsessed guy just leave the room, right? I have you finish with him. I hate him, right? Then we talk with him with the obsession. Wow, please come down. You are here in a house of where we are all willing to help you. Uh, we remember about Jesus. Well, the hate is not something. Then we talk to him, and then after, well, this happens 6 times, right? Every session is 6 times the person goes there in the spirit center. If it needs more, then it goes to
Yeah.
the we tell him about that, and then we through this conversation with the spirit, we can change his mind, right? Because when he was there, when the person, the obsessed person was there, hearing the gospel which the orator was given, the spirit also was hearing, right? So we trying to change his mind, right? So, and this in this case, speaking medium is very important, right? So, so it depends on the situation, but all of them are very important, you know. So, but
Yeah.
today the most usual are well, these speaking medium and also the writing mediums. The seeing mediums. Sometimes also helps, Esteban, because sometimes, for example, you are there in the spirit center, and then I see medium say, well, I'm I'm seeing someone beside you. You talked about your speech was very interesting, but all the time I saw a benefactor. Uh, behind you and was inspiring you in your speech, right? So the seeing medium also had have their function in the spirit center. And sometimes the hearing medium, right? Or I'm hearing here that maybe you should do that, right? So is to recommend you that. So there are all kinds of mediumship are very, very important. The most important we are going to see later is how the mediums practice his mediumship. He
Hmm.
needed
Hmm.
to practice only with love, right? With the intention of helping the other people, either incarnate or discarnate. It doesn't matter, right? Because they are all brothers and sisters of us. So how we practice our mediumship is what matters, and they are all important.
Yes, 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 exactly. It's the question I ask is the same thing. Like, which organ in your body is more important? You know,
Ah,
all of them needs to work synchronized. Otherwise, if one is not synchronized, when we have this, we get ill, and
mm,
then we need to sort it out. So this is important because. We have seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, I, I have this type of mediumship," So it's just something as well temporary because you can have a psychograph right now, but tomorrow you can stop psychographing and you will start to psychophonic.
yeah, yeah.
So it's or you can both. You can do either.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's the case of Divaldo,
You can do
Chico.
both,
Oh,
exactly.
they have
So
many, uh, they have
so
many types
that's the
of,
main point.
yeah,
What most important here is you're willing to help.
yeah, exactly. And
That's
it's
the
what,
most in whatever way you want to help. Doesn't matter. Like
yeah,
if he's cleaning or washing the dishes or is in a classroom teaching something,
yeah,
you are
exactly.
helping.
Yeah,
You know.
it's your case, Stefan. You're always speaking here about spiritism, and for sure you are inspired, right, by the good spirit. So you are kind of inspired in all the orators are inspired in mediums. So
Mhm.
very important too, right? So
Yes. Yes. Okay. So once again, my friend, thank you very much. Okay, we have a question here from Danny. Let me check here. Thank you, Danny. how we practice the spiritual by example, and I would say the medium moral conduct makes difference in a such important work. How we practice the spiritual by example.
Mm,
Let's say
I
the
didn't
medium
understand
moral
very much.
yeah, well she's saying may the medium moral conduct,
Ah,
it's more important than everything. Yes.
yeah,
uh, if I understood you right, Danny, this is you're absolutely right. It's we need to be not uh, a medium by lips. So here during the live we say a lot of things, good things, right things, but my actions outside of the screen here, I am a very competitive guy. You know, I don't have regrets. I don't have rules. It's only my rules. I am a very bad person with my family. So
yeah,
what's the point? You
yeah,
know. So you need to be spiritist inside the spirit center and outside the spirit center.
yeah,
And being outside the spirit center is the most difficult part because you stay usually inside the spirit center for like 1 hour, 2 hours, once a week, twice a week. And outside of the spirit center, you are more time. So you need to have your this moral conduct in any situation, in any time. And it is a very difficult task.
yeah, exactly.
It is not simple, you know. All the time you have doubts, you know. It's like it's like the 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 devil in one side and the angel on the other side, you know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
exactly. No, for sure. The medium influenced mainly by the example. Yeah. I'm remembering here. I was talking about the orator. I'm remembering about a book. Well, in Portuguese is Voltei. It's something like I came back, right?
yeah, yeah,
And which is about a medium, a orator, a spiritist orator from Rio de Janeiro that well giving many speeches, and then he passed away and went to the spiritual world, and then there the spiritists came to him and said, well, I we went there to the spirit center. Here you're talking about those beautiful things about the gospel or spirit, and then I followed you after that, and we saw that you didn't do anything that you were saying there. So it's a kind of a this example, right? And we have
mhm,
lots of witnesses, just not just incarnate but discarnate, looking at
exactly.
what we are doing, right?
We
So
are in a very big brother, you know.
yeah, very big body. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not. Yeah, that's why it's not easy to be a good spiritist, spiritist, right? But
exactly, exactly.
anyway,
So once again, my friends, thank you very much. Thank you, Fast, for this opportunity to have you here with us. It's just consolidating our partnership, our collaboration here, and once again, transmit our best wishes to the to the team. Okay,
okay,
so and to everyone, please don't miss. In 15 minutes, we will have our virtual healing. It starts 8:30 on our YouTube channel. So it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes most, so it doesn't require a lot of your time, and it's good to concentrate, to elevate your thoughts and keep it going, because all the good vibrations you get from this talk here, the healing, it's a good way to help you if you need some spiritual help. So just log in our YouTube, www, not www. You go to the Spiritist Ireland, and then the links is there. So 8:30 in 15 minutes. Okay. Also, if you want to know if you are here in UK, or even though if you are in Brazil, but you want to be part of a mediumship book study, every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. here, London time, a group led by Charles Kemp, Guilherme Dias, and Mirgariba, they do spiritist medium's book study in English. So if you are open to it and you are willing to know more about spiritism in English, this is a great opportunity for you. Roberto, thank you very much. I'll see you probably next month or
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
depends on your schedule. And uh, would you mind to finish with a final prayer, please?
yeah, sure. Well,
Great.
we can meet again on the 17th of May, and I would also like to thank here my colleagues Verena and Paulo Namura from Brazil, Dirce from Ireland, and
Yeah. This
Leandro. I
this
think
was
is
our bridge to connect me and
yeah,
you,
yeah, and Leandro I think is his son, right?
her
So
son. Yes.
thank you all for being here with us. So let's then preparing ourselves to finish our meeting today. Let's thank to our spiritual benefactors for all the supporting during this conversation we had today. And we ask them to continue to support us in our intent to talking about this spiritism, the good message that spiritism has to everyone who want to listen to such message. We also would elevate our thoughts unto Jesus and also thanks Him for this new opportunity of being reunited again on His name. And finally, to our Father God for the gift of life and for this opportunity of this incarnation to study, to practice, to uh, to practice our mediumship, and in that way we are going closer to Him. So that's so be it.
Amen. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan.